So you're probably wondering what's next for paint schemes in GIMP. At this point, I figured I'd do a 2.0 video on this because I've had a lot of guys ask me, how do I make my stuff look better? How do I do the spec map stuff? Just overall in general, trying to go in depth from the original video. I've learned quite a bit since I put out that one, so hopefully this will help you guys with where we're at. But here's one thing that we're going to fix right here. There's this little ugliness. Let's look a little bit closer, shall we? You can kind of tell, but right there, that ugly line in the red. We're going to work on fixing that today. We're actually going to take this paint scheme and use this as our template. And I also have a little bit of help on this video in the form of iRacing's sweetheart, JD McHaley. So we're gonna make this car look nice. We're gonna make this thing look even better. Now keep in mind, I do have a 4070 Ti, so there's certain effects that will come into play here, but we'll discuss that as we get rolling through this video. All right, so on screen we've got the paint job. I actually had to recreate it, didn't have the file. So this is basically what you see on the car the way that it was in the intro video. I do have my lovely assistant, JD. Say hi, JD.
Good afternoon / evening / morning, whatever it is.
So really the way for me to fix this properly is to kind of start over. Luckily I've kind of recreated it so you can see what I'm talking about here. If we zoom in at any given point, you can see where the right, JD?
Jagged edges.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have jagged edges. Yeah. We're gonna try and smooth that a little bit.
Yeah.
But because of the way that the templates are, and you can see on the right hand side how they come in red, green, or blue. That's just the default. If you take a little bit more time creating the paint scheme, it'll come out a lot cleaner in the end. Mind you, you'll have to do a little bit of funkiness to do some things. I'm going to show you some shortcuts, but it'll make it overall cleaner so you can use the templates and it'll look like a really nice paint job when we're done. So, I'm just going to kind of roll this back. Zoom out so we can see a little bit nicer. But this is the template, the base template that I used prior to. So, you know, what you just saw a second ago, this is the same template. We just rolled it back to its original colors. As per usual, if we're adjusting colors inside the template, make sure you have that template selected before you do anything. And then we'll just select by color. We choose the green. Obviously, I already had it selected, so it takes a little bit of it out. The green is going to wind up as chrome, so it looks like the paint scheme that we had at the start of the video. And when we're done with all of this, I will show you guys what it looks like at the end, how it looks like on the track, and explain what you're seeing with mine versus what you may or may not see with, you know, your setup, configuration of computer components and all of that stuff. So let's go ahead and change this. So for chrome, it has to be white. I mean, you could do some other things. You could do like closer to gray or whatever. To get it to look like actual chrome off of like a chrome bumper, it has to be white. You can chrome any color you want to, but
what would happen if you used another color?
So if you used a different color, like if you use black and you chrome black, it'll make the black look super dark. I mean, it looks really cool. But it basically takes the effect, it makes the black even darker. It will make it reflective, which gives you that chrome feel. But basically any color outside of white, it turns it into a darker color. So a red is going to look more, it's not going to look as bright as the red that you see on screen, but it's going to still look red.
Okay, cool.
Kind of like a, I don't want to say like a bright red, but like a dulled down bright red. So keep that in mind, as we go through this. But so we changed the white or changed the green to white. I'm sorry, but the thing that you're gonna notice here, and I gotta find it because I didn't zoom in properly, but you can see there how there's green around it. Let me get to an actual spot though.
Green. Who uses green?
Some weirdo.
So it looks like whenever you select by color, it's not perfect at catching all of it.
Right, and so, like, there's the nose. Oop, we got a bunch of it's going the wrong direction. But, yeah, you can see how there's these green in here. One way to do that is to change, your bucket fill stuff here, and I gotta remember where she's at. So if we fill similar colors, you can change that threshold to be higher. Um, the problem is if you fill similar colors, then you're clicking in each section. So if you want to do all of them, sometimes, especially with Indy cars, there's a lot of different pieces on the car, right? Like if we zoom back out, look at all this stuff that we turned white. You'd have to go and individually click. So I usually use fill hole selection, but you can do fill similar colors and then click each individual. It'll get it closer. You're still going to have to do this a little bit. So for all intensive purposes, let's just go down the fill hole selection property. We'll zoom back in. We'll use the side pod stuff because there's more to see here. Zoom in at 800. So this is where it gets a little on the boring side. You're basically going to right click, select by color, select the color that you need, and you can hit Shift B and then instantly paint in the color nearest to it.
Oh, look at that. And the reason why those didn't fill is they didn't match the original green completely, right? Because it looks like they're a
Correct.
little darker.
Correct. So
Oh, I see.
you're going in and fixing basically what's kind of left over from the paint scheme. Good lord, if I can speak. So it is a little bit time consuming.
Well, probably, I mean, it's getting it on the entire car per color, so it's probably not that time
Well,
consuming. I mean,
and the reason that you want to do it right after you change one color, because let's say you switch where your red is, like we're gonna have red where blue is and blue where red is. We've got to flip things a little on the funky side. Um, so I just kind of come in here and I'll go down an entire line of where the color was. So we'll keep doing this for just a second.
this is still faster than some of the methods I use.
This is actually the fastest I've found. I actually haven't even shown Corn this yet.
Wow.
So,
Hi, Corn.
but you see how there's like these random colors in the white even. Like it's
Yeah.
it's almost like the template's off in spots, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But at least by doing this, you can get a lot of it sorted out pretty quickly. And it makes it to where it looks a lot better. Like the IMSA the GTP paint scheme that I did for our 2014. I did this. It's time consuming, but if you want a near perfect product, it's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want anything to be perfect, you're gonna have to put some kind of effort into it.
Right.
But it is handy though that you can select each color.
short key of at least doing Shift B to be able to bucket fill, that saves you a little bit of time of having to come over here, click, and do all that junk. We're gonna grab a couple more. And you gotta, the other thing too here with this, you want to be selective of how far you take this, right? Because the farther into the red we get,
You're gonna
it's
start
gonna
dipping into more of the
well,
red. I see.
it's gonna start getting weird jaggedness, and we don't really want that. I mean, you're gonna have it because it is computer graphics. Like, that's just gonna be the end all be all. But the idea is to make it look as real as possible. I
Yeah,
usually,
I
I
can see
mean,
where it would be a problem if you went too far in the other direction. Yeah.
right, yeah, you want to, it again, balance. So I'm just trying to clean up any of the little green ones that I find in a section. And like I said, doing this in one section, you're going to catch a lot of the errant green. I'll show you that here in a minute. The other thing you want to do is you're going to have these rando pixels that are going to show up in spots. And that's really what you're trying to clear up. So you want your edges sharp, but you don't want random pixels here in the white because it's going to show up almost instantly. So now, oh, yeah. Especially with the chrome will make this show up really funky. So if we zoom back out to like 100%, you could tell there's far less green on the edges. Like we had before, you could see greens and reds and stuff. So we've got that kind of blended in. So if we zoom back in, there's no green along this edge, which is going to make this look a lot smoother. So
Oh,
now,
that definitely does.
well, I mean, go out to 100%. Yes, you have kind of the jagged lines, and you could, once you get it to where it's looking better, I guess, you could probably come in here and do your changes so that way it's got that transition of from white to red. But here's the thing you have to think about. In the real world, we don't have a blend point. And to the eye, if you have a two-tone vehicle, there's a hard stop.
Hard stop.
So
Yep.
it's all about how far do you really want to go with this and how much are you going to see. To me, I'd rather have a little bit of jaggedness in places than having colors on the car that I don't want to be there. So, but now we'll go ahead and change out the red. Make that green.
Why are you making it green? Oh, is that
That's
because that's the color you're going to use?
right. Right. So now, if I off select here, you can see around the blue, there's the red.
Yes.
And there's a little bit here. So
And it's more noticeable than you'd think it would be too. It's actually kind of crazy that it's not cleaned up a little bit more.
well, and you notice it more because of the fact you've got the white on the green, so that red pops right out. So we'll use this nose piece here as our first point of reference. If I have to, I'll come up in here and use that as a different point. This way.
So this is what you've been up to whenever you're working on paints.
I've
I've never actually watched you do it before.
Now you know what I've been doing. So now, because the red's gone, right? We can take and almost any tile that's red, we can go ahead and just change it. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to change that to the green that we're using. which you can actually speed this up a little bit faster. So you could do Shift O and then Shift B. I don't have to select as much. Like I said, it gets to a point where it's like, do you keep changing it, or do you leave parts of it? Because you're trying to fight a fine line to make it look right. Oop, so go. But yeah, this is the time consuming part of my paint jobs, JD.
I mean, it looks time consuming, but it's really not too bad if you think about it, because you're only going to have a certain gradation that you need to go to, and that's going to cover pretty much all the other places on the entire map.
So I said if you do this, you know, as you're changing chunks, it makes it go a lot faster. The only not fun part is the errant pixels that don't match anything. You'll run into them. Happens to me every time. Nothing I can do about it. Fun one is going to be once we get the actual spec map on. That's when you really notice things. So, fun one is when your hand starts to cramp up when you're doing this.
Exercises.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Okay. A couple other random spots. And that's why I try to use parts where they come together a lot. Because that's when you start seeing more of the random color dots. See, like we've cleaned up a lot of that right there. Now let's zoom back out. And now if you look, there's no red. The red's gone.
Red.
So now when it comes to the third color, which is the purple, all we have to do now is change out a few of the blue dots, and that cleans up a majority of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Me and JD will be back in just a second. Yeah, that actually looks really good. I don't really see any blue, so that took care of pretty much all of it.
And it really does. You don't think about it. It does. You don't notice it until you before. It's almost like a freshly mowed lawn or a new haircut. It's like, wow, I didn't realize it looks so much better.
Right. And the funny thing is because this is laid out on flat, right? Once it wraps around the car, that's when you notice the difference. Because while it looks like, okay, in here you had some errant lines, by cleaning up the other colors, it doesn't distract, especially if you're using bright colors. Like if you're using some dark colors, you can kind of hide it. but with the green on the purple on the chrome, it really stands out. And I noticed that with this new graphics card pretty heavily. So we'll zoom this thing out to 50%. Okay, so since we've got a couple of things, and I just want to do this right because I'm going to actually use this paint scheme, I'm going to go ahead and do, there's some color change logos and stuff. It's the inside banner. On this template. Oh, probably the bottom here. Yeah. We'll turn those off because that's already the colors we want to use. Oh, that's one thing that I found out that you can change is the pit pole color. Had no idea until the other day. We'll just make that what we want to.
Yeah, what is the pit pole?
It's the pole for the sign. So like when you're looking at your pit crew, that's the actual, especially on the Indy cars, they have a pole that holds the sign up or holds it out in front of you. That's
Oh,
that.
I thought it just floated.
No, it's on a pole. It's like a arm, basically.
I'm just kidding. I never noticed that though. That's pretty cool.
And then you've got the pitboard base, which is what the number is applied to. So I like to usually choose some bright color associated with the car, easy to see. Which I'm just going to make it bright green because it works out great with the way that the number is on this car. There is these suspension wheel wraps that you can change up here. I don't ever run them, so it's personal choice. I don't even have them on in the garage. There's also the wheel rings. You can change those. And that's the wheel ring is your alternate tire type. So if you're running softs, usually by default they're red. I like to leave them red because again, it's more authentic that way. If you want to change them to whatever color you want to, that's fine too. Okay, so that's that for the paint scheme. So now we're going to go ahead and we will get this exported. And we're going to get this into here. Paints. IR18 we're wound up at. I thought I'd actually worked on this before, but all right. So as usual, this is going to be car number, and then this is your account number on iRacing. You can use mine if you want to, but it will only show up on my car. So be mindful of that. So we'll replace it. Do the export. Come over here to iRacing for a second. Go to Paint Shop. Select the IR18. And obviously we know we've got the right paint because the graphics aren't on it, which isn't a big deal yet. But you'll notice there's this white line. This is because the old spec map is still in here. So we haven't updated the spec map yet, but that red line we were looking at, it's gone. Which is nice. So now we can go ahead and
nice.
We can go ahead and fix that spec map, and you can even see it here on the side pod. There's white without any red. It cleans it up.
At first glance, you might just miss it too.
Well, and you really notice it here on the Firestone logo, how much is cleaned up.
Oh yeah.
And even here on the sides. So, overall, it's gonna look a lot cleaner when you're done by having it done this way. Like I said, yeah, you've got some jagged line, but when you twist it just right, it looks good. And we'll get it out on the track after we get the logos and stuff laid on it. And take a look at it again and see what it looks like. I am going to do something a little bit different with this paint, just because like I said, I had some people that wanted more details with the spec map. We're actually going to take and make the purple, I think, a flat or a satin. So we'll cover that in here real quick with the spec map.
Side note, that's actually a really nice paint scheme.
I know. It took me a long time to settle on this. I've done a few different ones, and I actually came across this by happenstance because it's all the way at the bottom of the list.
The black wheels, with there not being a lot of black on the actual car, the black wheels really stand out.
Right. Well, and if
Hey,
you
I'm
know
a big believer of look good, play good.
what my dad always said, if you're not fast, you might as well look it. That's the
Seriously. I can't. That's why do you think I spend so much money on golf clothes? I may suck and lose all the time, but I'll look good doing it.
See, there you go. There you go. So now what we're going to do, this is the way that the spec map was prior to me doing anything. We're going to, basically, we're going to scrap the whole thing. So we'll just undo everything that I already had, because now our white on the car here is actually bigger than the one that we had in the spec map. So the easiest way that I found to do this, we'll just select by color. We're going to select, helps if we actually have the paint scheme selected. Select the white, Control C, come over here, and then we're going to paste in place. And remember, to make it look as chrome as possible, you have to have the brightest version of red, because we're in the red channel spec map, as you can see over here. Each one of these,
Yes.
each one of these references the color you need to use to get the full amount out of it. So if you want crazy amount of chrome, or closer to what I would call bumper style chrome, you want to have it red on over the white. So we'll just go ahead and bucket fill that. And then we're going to export back to our racing folder, and then paint. And once you've messed with the paint, you can change the modified to, the modified time. And you can see right here, we modified this at 11:21. Just click on that. And then for the spec map, we do car _ spec _ account number, and then TGA. And then we
This
click
is the part
replace.
that this is the part that I've always had. I need to go step by step to make sure
Or,
because there was a time I couldn't get a paint off. Remember that?
yeah, because it wound up in the wrong folder.
Yeah, and I was like, why the heck can't I delete it? And it was
Right.
so whenever you paste it, just make sure you put it in the right spot.
Yeah, pay attention to where your paint stuff is for iracing. But now, if you look, there's no white edge. The chrome comes right out to where it should be. It looks spot on.
It really does make a difference too.
It does. I mean, it makes it look so much sharper, so much cleaner. Just a lot better, in my opinion. So now what I'm gonna do before we get, well, yeah, we'll do it this way. We'll finish the spec map, and then I'll show you how to put the logos on and make it to where they don't blend into the spec map. They still come out shiny, still look good. So let's go ahead and head back to the spec map. And like I said, we planned on doing a matte or a satin on the purple. So what I usually do at this point, we know the red's good. We're perfect there. So the one thing that we'll do is first unselect before you mess with this. Go to layer attributes, set this to addition, because it'll allow it to add into the other channels. Click OK. And then, just so I don't get confused about what's going on, I'll shut the red channel off. So red channel's completely off. We still have the green channel, which is where we're going to go to next. It just takes the confusion out of it, makes things really simple. So this is about the easiest way that I've found to do this. We'll zoom this out. And now we're going to go ahead and select by color again. Grab our purple. Copy that. And then we're going to, I got to make sure that I select base paint 1. Edit, paste in place. So it dropped it right where it should be. And again, I'll show you what this looks like when you do this. The brighter the color, so we're in the green channel, so the brighter the green, the more matte this is going to look. Like I said, we're looking for a satin, but I'll show you what this looks like as a matte. I'm not a big fan. You'll see why here in just a second. Back to iracing.
But doesn't matte and chrome look good together?
Yes, but it, like, if you look right here by the gas door, it gives this weird illusion, and I just don't totally like it.
Okay.
So I mean, yes, it's as matte can get. And I'll show you it with the chrome on as well. So let's just turn the red channel back on for a minute. We'll export it. So that's with the chrome and the full-on matte. It looks kind of funky in the sunlight. That's why I really prefer a satin, because it still gives it a little bit of depth. Like, to me, it just makes the paint look chalky. I mean, if you're going for that Daytona testing period, when they used to do it back in January, that super matte primer look, by all means, use the bright green. Looks real sharp. But I think with this, with the amount of gloss in the chrome, I think that the hard matte kind of, I don't want to say it drags it down, but it just doesn't look right. And I mean, you can see it right there. Right by the front suspension.
I see.
It's like, like it looks funky in shadows. So now what we're gonna do, go over here, and we're gonna adjust our green down. Like, bring it way down. Not necessarily black, but we'll go with a darker green. We're gonna turn the red back on. Do an export really quick. And when we come back, now if you look by that gas door, you can see a little bit of sun shading on it, or however you want to cover it. But like, even right here, you can see the gloss versus that satin.
Yeah.
And to me, that looks sharp. Because
the satin.
It still allows for definition. Like, we couldn't really see this before unless you were twisted. But now that you're on the side, you can see definition of that wing. It kind of pops out. It looks good. It's still kind of a matte. And you can play with it too by adjusting the green closer to black or closer to bright green to get the desired effect that you want. Like, you could do a triple stage matte on this whole thing. So you could have the green be like super matte, and then where the chrome is be kind of a satin, and the purple somewhere in between, which would kind of look cool too. Especially if you're dealing with like a camo pattern. If you do camo and gloss, it looks just wrong. There's just something about it looks wrong. If you do camo and satin, it obviously looks, more appropriate in my opinion. Now, my opinion may not matter compared to others, but that's just, again, my opinion. So now at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, we got this spec map done. How are we gonna make these logos stand out? So I'm gonna go ahead and lay some logos down on the car. When I come back, we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to put it onto the spec map, and how to make it to where the logos still stand out as gloss, even though it's going through a chrome or a satin spot. So I will be right back. All right, so now we've got all the logos on the car. The one thing that I did do here, I added a layer that's decals. So when you go to paste in, make sure that you're on decals. It'll paste in, and this gives you a layer to be able to just copy, and then we can paste it. So click the decal layer, click Control C, and then we just Control V onto that. And then we're going to click on black because we don't want anything to get applied to the decals. So this won't let chrome get applied. This won't let red get applied, any of it.
The black that's in your logo?
No. The one thing that I did do that I'm kind of a ding dong is I didn't do paste in place. So we'll do that now. Now it's laid in the correct spot. Okay. And then you can just bucket fill, which we may still need to paste it into here too. So let's do this because of the way I did this. We're going to edit, undo, edit, paste in place. And so there'll be two spots where it's in the green layer and the red layer. It's kind of a CYA, just because of how it's kind of built and compiled. So we'll export that, and we're just going to re-export the paint scheme. So now, if we go and look at it, you can see there's still satin here in the purple. You've obviously got your chrome, but there's not satin running through the graphic. So the graphic stands...
You can see it's different.
Right. It stands on top of it. It adds dimension. It'll really... To me, when you start combining the satin and gloss, forget the chrome. Or even if you did, gloss and chrome, and did matte graphic or matte logos with it, it's going to add a layer of dimension to it. So it kind of gives it a 3D effect without giving it a full 3D effect, right? And like you can kind of tell, if I go here, you can barely see it. But if you look at the Speedway logo, it's gloss at the bottom, gloss on the top, with that matte running through it. And that's just because it's part of the default base. There's nothing I can do to change it. So that's really that. I mean, that's spec map in a nutshell. Now, the one thing we can do, and I'll shut my iracing manager off. We're gonna stop that guy, and once he stops, we're gonna close iracing manager so it can't do this. So we'll just jump into a test session really quick. I'll do a lap, and then you guys can take a look at the paint scheme in the sun.
Yes, the sun is your friend when it comes to chrome, especially.
Yeah, always, 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 before you upload it to Trading Paints, make sure that you do pull it out on the track, make sure you're happy with it, because once it's in Trading Paints, I mean, you can delete it, but you're going to have to probably rebuild it again if you want to do this. And with some of these that are pretty elaborate, it may not be the most fun thing. So it's kind of like I have an idea that I want to try because I've figured out how to take certain chunks of different templates and put them on a car. I want to take one chunk from each template on a car, put it onto the car, and make it kind of look like somebody puked a template onto it and then painted all sorts of different colors. So let's go ahead and I'll take this around the track really quick so I can get a lap in. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, so we've got this thing finally out on track. As you can see, I mean, the graphics look sharp. The gloss looks sharp. Everything about it looks really nice. We'll go ahead and pause it here, and I'll do a rear chase.
See it sparkle in the sun?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice. But I mean, you can see the satin's there, the gloss. It just looks good. We'll get this thing moving a little bit. And this is what I was saying about, it's going to look different for different people. I have a 4070 Ti, so it's going to pop out more, give some different texture, that sort of thing. So keep that in mind. It's not going to be, with certain graphics cards, it's not going to look as nice. This is just with everything cranked up. This is how it'll look. So keep that in mind. Replays obviously will look different than in race. But overall, I'm really happy with how this thing came out. Yeah, we cleaned up some ugliness, as you can see just in front of that front tire. The red's gone now. And you can, it gives it a dimension to it that just makes you feel good. You want to go out and you want to race that car because it looks the cleanest you can get it. So, JD, any final thoughts?
No, it really is remarkable to me just how much of a difference it is when you get all the extra color out of there. Definitely was very helpful, and I can't wait to apply it to my own paints.
And I'm sure
Chrome in satin is coming.
I'm sure you'll ask me for help. You now have a video to you now have a video to refer to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit here and do it step by step because that's the only way. That's how I learn. So I'm excited to do that, and I'll show it to you when I'm finished.
There we go. Even JD needs help sometimes.
Oh, dude, you know so much more about this paint stuff than I do. I mean, I just use trading paints, but I'm so jealous because I want to use chrome and satin really bad. Either satin black with chrome teal or satin teal with chrome black. I haven't decided yet.
Play around with it. See what you like. Same thing goes to everybody watching this. Play around with certain things. Like one thing that you may think might look weird might actually look better in the sunlight. The other thing that I'll get to at some point here is how to do the driver suits and the pit crew suits, and the helmet for the driver. I've done a couple of those. I still got a little bit of work before I'm ready to put out a video on that. But hopefully this answers a lot of your guys' questions. I feel like it answered JD's.
Oh yeah. I appreciate you taking the time and letting me tag along for this.
All good, brother. But if anybody has any questions, put something in the comments. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. You can hit me up on Discord. I'll make sure to put my username and my server in the description. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming along, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Subscribe.